Yes.
Question about the launching and deployment of the satellites.
Yeah.
I think even Japan, I think a few years ago, their rocket blew up or the deployment failed.
Right.
I mean, there are a million things to go wrong. Did you guys lose any? Or?
Let's see. No, I was really lucky that I didn't have any launch failures. But once again, let's see. I spent my military career in the space business, and so knowing not only U.S. systems but China, the Cold War systems, and all of that, I knew the reliable ones and the ones that had been around a long time. We could have. Ariane 5 was just coming online, so we had a proposal to put 11 satellites on Ariane 5, but there was no way I was going to risk the program on a new rocket. So, as I mentioned earlier, I didn't want a rocket that hadn't been in the operational inventory at least 10 years. That was my ground rule.
But even if you get the satellite up into space, deploying is another story, right?
Well, yeah, and the deployment of the satellite, it rolls off the dispenser, and then once it rolls off the dispenser, then the satellite basically deploys the antennas and the phased array and the solar arrays itself, and comes to life. You have a software load in the battery, and it points at the sun and charges the battery.
But if you've got 5 satellites, or I think you had 5 on the first one.
Right, 5 on the Delta.
So it goes up, deploys one, moves on, deploys another. Is that how that works?
Well, so here's the rockets are typically 3 stages. So and then you have solids that add. So the first stage is the biggest. So you use all the propellant, and then you throw away the first stage to get the mass down, right? And then you have the second stage. I mean, it's just all mathematics, right? Then you have the second stage, and then you have the third stage, which then puts you in the right position. And like on Delta, what we did, the Delta deployment scenario was we had 5 satellites on, and you'd roll one off, and then the upper stage would rotate, and you'd roll another one. You wouldn't roll the one right next to you. You'd alternate rolling them off. And then you'd roll one off. And once it rolled off and you pulled the umbilical, then that would start the battery, and so you'd start the process of deploying it. And so the satellite basically would align itself you'd put the software on so the satellite would orient towards the sun, radiate its telemetry, and so when it'd go over one of the ground stations I talked about in Equality or Yellowknife, then you'd start talking to the vehicle, and then you'd fly it up to its final orbit. So typically the rocket dropped it off below the constellation, and then you deployed it, and then you flew it up.
Did you lose any during deployment, and have you lost any since?
Yeah, so let's see. So we built, I think we built 99 satellites, and the first 3 were test satellites. The structural test satellite is in the museum, in the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum, and then let's see, there's 66 plus 6, 72. So 72 from 93 is, what is, yeah, 21, 23 or something have been lost. Yeah. So you could go through and figure out exactly how many were lost, yeah.
They were lost when?
Pardon?
When were they lost?
At various times through, I mean, you know, recently you saw in the news where the Russian satellite crashed into one. I mean, that was like a year ago or 2 years ago or something.